I'm Shelly Turner with the Builderall team. In this video, we're going to go through this same exact page, and instead of doing it the really fast way, which is to grab those panels, we're going to go and we're going to rebuild every single panel from a blank panel. So let's go ahead and hop in and do that, and you can see how I pull in the elements and actually make the changes. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a blank panel, and I'm going to put a blank panel under every single one of these panels so we can rebuild. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 panels. So we need 9 blank panels. So I'm going to go to Add, and then Panel, and I'm going to click this 9 times. And that's going to put a whole bunch of blank panels here, and it throws it all to the bottom. And I'm going to start moving them up so that I can start working with them throughout this website. So we'll move it up, and it's going to take me a few minutes to do this. All right, so now I've got a blank panel under every single one of the original panels that we built together. And remember that the original ones we just pulled in from our panel list, but now we're going to actually build them from scratch. So I'm going to start at the very top, and we're going to start with the header. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually add a logo in there. And a logo is just a picture. So I'm going to go to Add and Element, and I'm going to go to Images right here. And I'm going to click and drag in this image. And from here, we're actually going to position it over here in this area. And then I'm going to click on it and go to General Settings and change the image. And here we're just going to pull in this Black Friday image as our logo, and I'm going to drop it in there. Now it's mighty big, so I'm going to go ahead and drag it in to make it a little bit smaller like that. And then this particular image is a black background. It looks terrible on a white background. So we want to go ahead and make it black, but this one is like a gray. So if you put it on top of it with a gray, it wouldn't look very good. It wouldn't match very well. So we want to take this panel and actually click on the panel, then go to the background and make the background color actually black. And then you'll see that that really blends in well and looks really good. So it looks much better than if it was on top of the gray. Now we need to make that a little smaller, so we can click the panel, go to Size, and then make it smaller, just like that. And now we're ready to actually add the menu in there. So if I go to Add and then Elements, and the next thing I'm going to find is Menu, so I'm going to click right here, and then I'm going to go ahead and just pick a menu. So we'll pick this one right here, and we will click and drag it in just like this. So that drops it down in that area. We can drop it down just like that so that we have it in there. And now we need to start changing some things. So the first thing we need to change is all the items on the menu. We've only got 4. We've got Home, About Us, Services, and Contact. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure my menu's selected. And then I'm going to go to this little bitty icon right here on the mini toolbar, and it says Items List. So I'm going to click on that, and that allows me to start changing the menu. So I need my Home, About Us, Services, and Contact. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete everything but the home item, so I can kind of start from scratch here. And so I've got the home item. I'm going to add another one, and this one's going to be About, and Save. And I want you to notice that up here, you can see it really lightly. It's all capital letters, and that makes a difference on how nice your menu looks. If it's consistently either all upper lowercase or all lowercase or all uppercase, you want to be consistent across the entire menu. So we're going to change Home, and all we do is click the pencil, and then we type in all capitals and then click Save. So there we go. We got Home and About, and then we're going to add another one, and it is Services. So there we go, and we'll click Save. And now one more, which is Contact. So I'm going to click Item, and then Contact, and then Save. So now we've got all 4 of the original items that were on this menu. So I'm going to go ahead and close the menu, and you see that now the menu's changed to look a lot like that original menu. So I'm going to move it over here. But we've got another issue going on, and that's the colors of the menu. We need the menu background to be black and then the text to be white. So I'm going to make sure it's clicked, and I'm going to go over to these settings, and we've got the background, and right now the background is white, so I'm going to make that transparent, just like that. And then we also have some other areas that we can work with this. So I'm going to go to the menu items, and there's the background color there, and background color, I'm going to make it transparent. And so now you can actually see through the menu color of the background. But now we've got an issue with the text is black, so we have to change the text to white. So I'm going to change the text to white just like that. And also you can see that the style of the text is not quite the same. It looks like it's a lot thicker. So we've got Lato black. Let's change it to just Lato. And that looks a little thinner, but not quite there. So maybe we can go to Muley light, and that might be a little bit better. And yeah, you can see that that's a lot better. And now when we hover over the items, we've got a white background on the hover. That doesn't work too well. So if I change the background color, I also have to change the hover background color. So if I hover over these, what is the color going to be? So if I click on that, I can actually change that hover color to maybe a dark gray. Instead of black, a dark gray. So when I hover over it, they can see what they're hovering over, which is really good. So we'll take that. That's great. And then the active background, that means the background color that it's going to be if you're on that page. So if you're on the home page, what do you want the background color to be? So we're just going to go ahead and click that, and we'll do it kind of that dark gray as well, so that if we're actually on that active page, it'll show as dark gray. Now, the menu items have not been set because you'd obviously want to have multiple pages, a home page, about, services, and contact. So it won't show the active color, but later on it will once you've connected your menu to the other pages and everything is working. To connect your menu to the other pages, you just go back to this little icon and click it. And then for home, you're going to click the link icon. And on the link, you can choose to connect it to a web URL, a page, a pop-up, anchor video, a download document, a super checkout, or a phone if this is for the mobile. So this says home, so I'm going to connect it to the home page. And then I'm going to click save. And then I will click the X to close it. And now this first button is connected to the home page. So if you actually went to the active site and clicked it, it would just reload the home page, which you're already on. So it actually works out really well. You can do that with all of it once you get all of your pages set up. So that is our new header. We can make it a little bit smaller because this icon is quite big. So let's kind of drag him a little bit smaller like that. And because we dragged him a little bit smaller, we can move this up a little bit, and then we can change the size of this to a little bit smaller as well. And now we've got our new header, which looks a lot better. Actually thinks it looks better than the first one. And I'm going to make it just a little bit smaller, just like that. And that's what our header's looking like now. So I like that. I love it. So I'm going to go to the original header, and I'm going to delete it. And then I'm going to click that's fine. So now we've got our new header, and I'm going to click save because we made a lot of changes, and it was pretty big changes. So I'm going to click that's fine. And now we're going to work with the next panel, which is right here. And we've got the image to put on and some text. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to click on this plain ordinary panel, and we'll go to the background first, and we'll find that image. So we're going to change image. And there's that image right there. I'm going to click save, and there it is. So now I need to find that text. So I'm going to go to add, and then elements, and then we'll find text up at the top. And this looks like it might be about an H, maybe 4, and then an H2, and then an H5. So let's try that out. So H4, see if we can drag it over. There we go, there's H4. And then we said it's about an H2, so we'll go to elements and grab an H2. Perfect. And then that last one is probably about an H5, so we'll grab that and put it right there. Perfect. So we've got it working, and now we need a button as well. So I'm going to click Add Elements, and we'll look at buttons. And I don't know if we have any yellow buttons. Oh, there we go, right there. So I'm going to click and drag that over as well. So now we can kind of take a look at what we're doing with those to make those changes. So I'm going to go to first the title H4, and I'm going to rewrite it as Ice Cream Shop Express. There we go. And we'll stretch it out so it's all on one line. And then I'm going to double click in there and then triple click to get all of the text. And I'm going to change it all to white. And then it looks like it might be bolded as well, so we'll bold it. And that's a good start. And then the next one is, let's see, right here, an amazing title. And then we'll stretch it out to put it all on one line. Then I'm going to double click in there to put my cursor in there, triple click to highlight it all, and then I'm going to change it to white. Perfect. And then this last one, the H5, I'll click it to line it up. And then I'm going to click inside there, and lorem ipsum dolor sit amet, lorem ipsum dolor sit amet. Okay, that was a lot. So I'll click in there and then stretch it out to put it on one line. I'm going to double click to put my cursor in there, triple click to click all of the text, and then I'm going to change it all to white. And then it looks like it might be bolded, so I'm going to bold it and see if that makes a difference. And that looks pretty good, so let's click out of there and line everything up. There we go. Perfect. And now we've got our button, just like that. And the button says Contact Us. I'm going to right click on the button. I don't need to change the colors, but I do need to change the headline to Contact Us, all capitals, so Contact Us. And then everything else looks great. So you can see that the text is a little bit different, but not a lot different. And I think it looks great. So I'm going to go ahead and go up here to this first panel that we did that we just pulled in from a banner. And I'm going to click on it and then click the delete button. And then that's fine. All right, so we got this panel and this panel done. Now we're going to work on recreating this one. So we have the image, we got to put that in. So I'm going to make this a little bit taller. So I'm going to change the size a little bit. And then I'm going to get that image in there. So I'm going to click Add and Elements and Image. There we go. So image, and pull that over right there. And when that image is added in, then I click on the image to get the ice cream image. So click on it, and then we'll go to General Settings and change image. And there's our ice cream right there. And click Save. And remember when we added this before, it was quite big when we first added it. So we'll make it a little bit smaller like that. And now we're ready to add our text. So our text was actually a box and then two text elements. And the text elements, if we take a look at the text elements, let's see, one of them looks like it might be H6 and then paragraph. You can see the sizes right there. So it might be a A6 bold and then a paragraph. So I'm going to put a box and then a couple of text elements, and we'll see how that works. So I'm going to go to Elements and Box, and we'll just grab a box real quick and put that right there. And you can see that that box, it's got a purple outline. I don't want it to have any outline, so I'm going to click on the box, and I'm going to go to the settings, and for border, I'm going to set it to 0 and none. And you'll see now that it doesn't have anything as far as a border on it. It's ready for me to put those items in there. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Add and Elements and Text. Remember, we thought it might be an H6, so I'm going to pull in an H6 there, and then also a paragraph, just like that. So these need to go right on the box because they're going to actually be tied to the box, so that if we get it the way we want it and all set up, then we can actually copy the box 3 more times because there's 4 total boxes. So let's go ahead and put in the information first. So I'm going to double click in there and then triple click. And I'm going to do right and advantage. Very good. But as you can see, there's not a check mark there. But I can go in and click right before the W and click this flag. When I click the flag, I get all kinds of really neat icons. And I'm going to type in check and then hit search. And we'll see if we can find a check mark. And let's see, we've got that right there. That looks beautiful. So I'm going to click select. And then I'm going to click a space in there to make sure that there's a space. So then all of this looks like it needs to be bolded. So I'm going to highlight all of it. Now it looks like the check mark doesn't get bolded, but it actually does, or highlighted. And then I'm going to go ahead and choose bold to see if that looks pretty good on my size. And that does look pretty good. I think I can live with that. So the next thing is, instead of typing all this in, I'm going to just copy this and paste it into the paragraph area. Fabulous. And I'm going to stretch it out a little bit because this has about 4 lines. So I want to make sure that it's stretched out that wide to do about 4 lines. Just like that is perfect. So I need to stretch out my box a little bit so it holds all of it. Now I can do right and advantage and then line that up just like that. And then shorten up that box a little bit. And then when I drag the box, you can see that it's going to go with it. So I'm going to put this box where we need it to go. And then we'll make the image a little bit bigger, like that. Perfect. And now all I'm going to do is take this box. I think I've got it about where I want it. So I'm just going to duplicate it. And then I'm going to drag that one. Oops. And delete that. And we'll save and see if that works. So we'll click save. And that's fine. Great. And now we'll click that box again and duplicate. Perfect. And now we'll go ahead and drag it down and line it up with this one. And then I'm going to just copy it again. So copy. And drag and line it up. Oops, I dragged the wrong one, so we'll just drag that one. There we go. Just like that, and then we'll drag this one and line it up. Just like that, and then we'll do one more. So I'll copy it, and we'll drag it down. And line it up just like that, and we have to make our panel a little bit bigger, so we're going to stretch it out a little bit. Perfect. And now I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit bigger, so it's the size that it needs to be to cover that area, and line it up with everything there. And shazam, we've got that one recreated, and you can see that we've got 4 different areas. We've got the ice cream cones. So that's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and click that panel and click the delete button. And now we've got that one created and it's actually ready to go. And just about perfect. I can see a little bit of spacing issues. So I'd have to move this up just a little bit and move this one maybe down just a little bit. And then this one maybe up a little bit. And then the space a little bit better. There we go. So looking a lot better and love the way it's lined up and very, very happy with it. So now we're going to recreate this one. And for this one, we need this grayish colored background for the panel. So we're going to click on the panel and we'll go to background and pick the color. And for this one, it's a very, very light gray. So that looks pretty good right there. Pretty close, not exact, but pretty close. And now we need some text right here. So let's go to add and elements and text. And this text looks like it's about a 5 and then a 4 and then paragraph. So we'll go 5 and then 4 and then paragraph. There we go. And you can see that everything that we have is actually inside of a box too, and that's really important. So let's go ahead and add a box in so we can connect everything to that box. So I'm going to drag that box in, and we need to make this panel a little bit taller so we can work in here. There we go. So there's our box. I'm going to make it bigger, move it over a little bit. And we'll make it a little bit wider, just like that. And remember that we don't want to outline on it, so I'm going to go to border and set it to 0 and none. And now there's no border. Then I'm going to take my H5 and move it over here, my H4 and move it over here, and my paragraph and move it over here. And now we're going to take a look at what we need. So in the H5, I need this text right here, so I'll copy it and then paste it. Just like that, and that looks pretty good. It might be a little bit small, but that's okay. But we'll scooch it up over here, and then we'll copy this text and paste it over here, and then we'll stretch it out a little bit to make it on 2 lines instead of 3 separate lines, just like that. And also, I'm going to triple click in there and do bold to make it a little bit bigger because it's definitely bolded. And then I'll move that out of the way a little bit. And we'll line this up just like this. And now the paragraph. So we'll get all of the paragraph stuff. So I'm going to double click in there to get my cursor. And then I'm going to hit Control A, and that copies all of it. And then Control C. So that actually Control A highlights all of it, and Control C copies it. So I'm going to go down here to the paragraph and Control V as in paste, and that pastes all of it in there. So now I can resize a little bit so it's not quite so long. Let's click in here and stretch it out a little bit, just like this. All right, and now we'll stretch the box a little bit too. Great. So now we have basically the same design. The only thing we need is the button now. So let's go see if we can find that button. So I'm going to go to Add Element, and we'll take a look at the buttons, and we need just a blue button. So there's a blue button we need slightly rounded corners. So we'll drop the button on there. We'll click and drag that button over here, and then we'll slightly round the corners. So I'm going to go rounded. And we'll set it at 15 for each corner. We'll see how that looks. Oops, that's a little bit too rounded. So we'll do 10. That's a little bit better. So now we've got rounded corners, and this button was actually a little bit longer. So we'll stretch it out to there. And then it also says read more in all capitals. So we'll change that to read more. There we go. And so now we've got all that in there, and we'll move it all over here to this side, like this, and line it up. And now we need that image there. So, but one of the things is this is a little bit smaller. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. Let's see if we can shrink this up a little bit. Just a little, not a lot. But we need a little bit more room for our image. So we'll tighten that up a little bit, and then move the box over a little bit, just like this. And now we'll add our image in. So I'm going to click Add and Elements and go down to Image. So right there, and pull that image in. And so now that image is there, and let me go ahead and change the image. So I'll go to General Settings and change Image. And then we'll find this image right here and click Save. And then we'll kind of center it up there. And now we've got that ready to go. So if we kind of compare it to what we've got up there, it looks really similar, not exact, but really similar. And I'll shorten this one up a little bit so that it fits better. Gets in close to that button. Very good. And so now I'm able to take this one and delete it. And that's fine. And now that scoots the one up that we made manually. And now you can see that we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 panels already created. I'm going to click Save. And then save again, actually publish to make sure that everything we've got so far is actually saved. All right, so everything is saved, and now let's continue working. So now we've got this section right here. And the first thing is to actually add that image. So I'm going to click on that blank panel, and we're going to go to background and change image, and we'll find our image and click save. And so now we've got the image there, and we need some white text, and that looks like it might be, let's see what size that looks like, maybe H3. So let's pull in some H3 right there. And then each of those texts look like they might be let's see, H5 maybe. So we'll pull in one of those, and then we'll edit in a minute. And then we've got some images to pull in, and then we've got the yellow button. So let's see if we can find that yellow button. So I'm going to go to elements, and we'll find the buttons. And let's see if we can find a yellow button right there. We'll pull that in. And then we need an image. So let's go ahead and add an image. And I want you to notice that I've only pulled in one of those Title 5s, which is going to end up being all of those. What's going to happen is I'm going to actually copy them, and I'm going to show you how I do that. So let's go ahead and find the image and pull one image in there. So image and one image. There we go. So we got plenty of elements to work with right now. Let me make that image a little bit smaller like that. And then we need some boxes, because if you remember, everything that we do, we want to try to have in boxes, because it actually does a little bit better in setting up on mobile. So I'm going to go to add and elements and box, and I'm going to pull in that trusty little box right there. And then I'll make sure that that box is set up so that it does not have any border. So I'll go to border and choose 0 and none. So now that box has no border at all. And if you remember, we need to have an image in there. So I'm going to make my image smaller and add it to the box. And then I'll add my title to the box as well. I'm going to move that button out of the way. And now we have the image and the actual title on the box. And we need to kind of just center it a little bit. So I'm going to change the H5. It's right now left justified. I'm going to center it. And I'm going to go ahead and type in there services A. And we'll go ahead and change it to white now, just because we're in there and working with it. Alrighty, so now we've got that changed. I'm going to kind of make that box smaller and make sure it's in the center right there. And we'll make the bigger box smaller like that. Actually, let's do it this way. There we go. So that's pretty close here to the size that we need. And you can see as I drag that box, those two things go with it. And that's really important, because now I can copy the box and make, once I get it the way I want it, make 4 more just like it. So now let's go to this title, and I'm going to first center it, and then I'm going to highlight all the text, and I'm going to say our main services. And then of course stretch it so it's all on one line. And then triple click in there and go to white. And we'll capitalize that S. And there we go. And I'm going to set it on the panel like this, and even center it just like that. So now it's in the center. And I might want to make this a little bit taller. I don't think it's quite tall enough, so I'm going to stretch it just a little bit, just like that. And now I can actually start adding my pictures in there. And so I'm going to go ahead and click that image, and I'm going to go to General Settings and change the image. And then I'm going to just click that first one and click Save. So now you can see that that's in there. It's a little bit big though, so I'm going to stretch it down a little bit, just like that, and then move it up in the box a little bit. And there we go, much better. Move services A down. It's a little bit smaller than what's up there, but I think that's okay. So now I've got this one about done. And let me just kind of stretch that so that it all works in there. So if I like the way that looks, then I can take that box that has those two items and actually duplicate. And when I duplicate, it's going to create an exact copy of that box that I can use again on that panel. So it didn't quite do the way I wanted it to, so I'm going to save. So let me delete that one. There we go. And now we're just going to click save. And that's fine for publishing. And now we'll see if that helped a little bit. So I'm going to click duplicate. And it duplicated it. So I'm going to put this one in the center of the panel. So if I click on it, I'll get that center button, and it put it in the center for me. So now I can actually kind of space everything out based on this I know being in the center. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate again. And we'll put this one on this far side. And we'll make sure it's kind of lined up. There we go. And we'll duplicate again. And this one we'll put in the center of them. Once it duplicates, there we go. So I'll click and drag that and just kind of drop it in the center of those. And you can see with my grid lines that they're really well lined up. And so now I need one more, so I'll duplicate again. There we go. And I need to set this one so that it's exactly where I want it to be, about the same distance from the edge. And then this one goes in the center of those. So very good. Everything looks great. So they're not quite lined up here. So let's see if we can kind of fix that. So we'll just kind of grab that and line them up better. There we go. And I'll center that a little bit better between those two. And then we'll do the same thing with the other boxes. Oh, and that's pretty good. So now I'll change this to services B and services C and services D. And then services E. And now we'll actually change the pictures as well. So I'm going to click on that image and change image. We'll go to the second one and save. And then we'll change this image, change it to the third one, and this image, and change it to the fourth one. And then this image, we'll change it to the fifth one. There we go. So now we've got all of our images in there and lined up, and now we'll work with this button. So we're going to center the button. And then the button says no more, so we'll change the headline, and it's all capitals, to no more. And it looks like it needs to be a little bit bigger, so we'll change the font size a little bit to match what that button is. And we can even make it a little bit bigger. And the round edges we need to add as well. So let's go to the rounded borders, and we'll make this a 10, I guess. There we go. And there we go. It's not quite the exact same yellow, but it's pretty close. And we can center it on the panel to make sure it works that way. And that looks pretty close to what we had before. So I think that's good enough to take this panel and delete it. And then we'll shorten this one up just a little bit to close up that area. Just like that. I'll make it a little bit shorter. There we go. That's perfect. So now we'll save what we've done so far. And now the next panel. So we've got a box here and a couple of text items. So I'll look at the text to see what size it looks like. So that one looks like it might be a 5 and then paragraph. And then we've got our numbers and boxes as well. So we need a big box right there and then 4 boxes there. So let's get to work. We'll make this bigger to work with. And then I'm going to go to add and elements and text. So that looks like about a 5. Well, we'll add our boxes first. Elements and boxes. There we go. So I'm going to put that box in there, and that goes across here. And then I'm just going to duplicate that box and put that one down here. There you go. And we'll make it smaller so that it's going to be able to hold our stuff in there. Now on this one, I'm going to change the border to 0 and none. And then this one, same thing. We want the border to be 0 and none. Perfect. And now we can start working in this one first. And we'll start adding our text in there. So there's the box, and we said that we'll add our elements and go to text. And it looks like it might be about a 5. So we'll add that 5 right there. And then paragraph. Perfect. Alright, so now let's edit the 5. So we'll just edit this text. So we'll copy it, and then we'll paste it right here. We will center it, and we'll bold it. Looks like it needs to be bolded. Just like that. And then we'll stretch it out to be on one line. Perfect. And then we'll center it inside that box. And now the paragraph we'll grab. So I'm going to do Control A to highlight all of it, Control C to copy. And then for the paragraph, double click in there and then triple click in there, and then Control V as in violin. And that copies all the content. And now we will change the size of it so that it goes onto 2 lines. Just like that. We'll also center it. Here we go. And now we'll move it to the box right here. Great. It looks like we need to expand our box a little bit, so we'll make it a little bit bigger. And then we will center this item on the box and center this item on the box. Perfect. And now we'll center the box. Perfect. Okay, so we got that in there. I'm going to shorten it up just a little bit. And now we're going to work on these numbers. So the numbers need to be pretty big, and then we've got little bitty text on it. There's our box right there. So we'll start with this box, and we'll get big numbers. Let's go to Add and Text. And it looks like it's probably a title 2. So let's grab the title 2 and put it in there. And then that one looks like it might be an H6. So we'll grab the H6 and put it in there. Perfect. So let's center both of those. So we'll center that one, and the first number is 239. And it's a little bit smaller than what I've got, but I can live with that. So I'm going to shrink it up to center it in the box. Just like that. And then we'll put this one in the center as well. So I'll double click to get in there, and then center it. And then triple click and change it to your statistic title. Perfect. And then we'll shrink it to fit the box. So I'm going to kind of pull it over there a little bit and then shrink it. And it looks like it actually fit inside the space that we put it. So let's give it a little bit smaller space. There we go, your statistic title. Then we'll take the 239 and shrink that. And then we'll shrink it all to fit inside the box. And then I'm going to put that a little bit closer to that 239. Fabulous. All right, so that's what we're working with right now. It looks really good. And we've got the box there, and they're attached to the box. So let's go ahead and click Save to make sure everything is saved. Just like that. And then that's fine to publish. And now I'm just going to copy that box, and I'll make sure I'm clicking on the box, and I'll click Copy. And it didn't quite copy right, but that's okay. We will get rid of that one. and we'll delete that. And sometimes when the system gets slow like this, if you'll click save, and then that's fine. Then you want to make sure to click refresh, which on my computer is going to be F5, so I'll click F5. And I'm just going to refresh the loading of this particular editor, and it will reload the entire editor page, and then it'll work a little bit faster for me. So we'll just reload everything and let it kind of reset. All right, so let's go down here, and we'll continue working in here. So I'm going to take this and duplicate it. So duplicate. And then we'll pull this over here, make sure I grab the box part of it, and we will put this right there. There we go. And we'll duplicate it again and drag that one over here. And let's line it up closer to the lettering right there. And then we'll duplicate it again and drag this one over here. So now we just gotta line everything up and space it the way we want it, and then change the numbers. So just like that. Almost. Alright, so the next number is 500. So we'll click in there and do 500. And then now the number for this one is 2350. And then this one is 100%. Perfect. So now we've got everything spaced out. I'm going to drop this just a little bit and make sure it's centered. Perfect. And now I can take this panel and actually shorten it up a little bit. Just like this. And now that panel is actually done. And it does look a little bit different than the other panel because the lettering is a little bit smaller, but that's okay. You can design these however you want to. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to actually delete it. And now we've got this panel done and ready to go. So the next one is this panel here. So the first thing I can see is we need to make it a little bit taller and then change that color, the background color, to a grayish color. So we will make it a really light gray, like that. And now we can start with a box and a box. So I'm going to go a long box here, similar to what we did here. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy this one. So I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to paste down here. And we'll put it right there. And then we'll make sure it's centered. And then I'm just going to click on here, and I'm going to say our clients say, and then we'll leave it just like this because it's the same. And now I'm going to do these boxes. So I'm going to click add and element and box, and we're going to grab a box and pull it over. And these boxes, there's 4 of them, and they're actually very rectangular. So we're going to do like this. And then the box itself is actually white. So I'm going to click in there and go to the settings. And for the background color, I'm going to actually choose white. Let's see if we can get the background color to be white on the box. There we go. Oh, and we're going to make it so it's not transparent. There we go. And now the color is white. And inside the box, I need some small text and then even smaller text. So I'm going to go to add and elements and text. And it looks like I have an H6. So I'll put that H6 there. And then paragraph. So I'll put that paragraph there. And for this one, I'm going to go into it and type in client A. And we'll center it. And then I'm going to make it smaller. And then for the paragraph, I'm going to copy in what the paragraph has here. Copy. And then highlight and paste. And this is actually centered, so we'll center it. And then we'll shrink it. Just like that. And also there's a little bit of padding in there, so I'm going to make it a little bit smaller so that we have some space inside of that box on either side. And also, this particular text was italicized, so I'm going to go italicized. And then the text looks a little bit smaller than the regular paragraph, so I'm going to go a little smaller. So maybe a 12, that's too small. We'll try 13. That's probably closer, so we'll keep it like that. And then the client A part looks like it's bolded, so we'll bold it. Perfect. So now we're going to stretch the box out to accommodate all of the text. So there we go, center that. And we'll center that. And now we need to get that picture of that person. So let's go ahead and pull that picture in. So I need an image. So I'm going to go to Add and Elements, and we'll go to Image. And there's the image. It is super big, right? But I'm going to click on it. I'm going to go to General Settings. I'm going to change the image. I'm going to grab the picture from my digital file repository of that guy and click Save. Now he's actually really big. So I'm going to shrink him down, and then we're going to put him inside of the box. So we've got to shrink him a little bit more and put him inside of there. And you can see that now I need to drag my stuff down because I don't have enough room in the box. So I'll drag that down, and then we'll make the box a little bit bigger. There we go. So now we've got something that's comparable to what we have up here. I think we have rounded edges too, so I'm going to click on the box and go to rounded borders, and I'll do a 10 on each of the border. We'll see how that looks. Perfect. The only thing I need to do next is get rid of those borders because I don't want any actual border on there. So there we go. That looks fabulous. And it's good enough that I can make 3 more copies and change the image and some of the text. So I'm going to duplicate. There we go. And I don't think it duplicated the way I wanted to, so I'm going to delete. I'm going to see if I can get that image to get attached to the box. So I'm going to try that one more time. So image, I'm going to drop it on the box, just like that. And let's see if it goes with it. Yep, so it's attached to the box now. So let's see if it'll go with the box now. So I'm going to duplicate. And there we go. And then I'm going to duplicate again. And there we go. And then I'm going to duplicate one more time. Just like that. And there we go. We've got 4 boxes. So I'm going to line them up according to how they fit well in the grand scheme of things. So there we go. Line that up just like that. And then we'll put these other 2 in there to match the spacing that we have left. Just like that. We'll bring it down a little bit. There we go. Bring that one down a little. And we'll bring that one down a little. And okay, now we'll change the pictures. So this second one, I need to change the image to the red-headed girl. So we'll do that. And then the next one is the guy. There we go. And then last one is the last girl. So there we go. And then I need to change this one to client B and client C and client D. Fabulous. And now we'll shrink it up just a little bit so that it all fits in there real well. Perfect. And now we can see this one versus this one. They're just a little bit different, but not a lot different. I'm going to move that up just a tad and center it again to make sure we got it centered good. And I think that's good enough to replace what we have up here. So I'm going to click on that one and then delete. And that's fine. So now we've replaced almost all of our panels. I've got just a couple more to go. This one right here is the next one. It's going to be a simple one, and honestly, it's so close to the first one. Let's take a look at what we had on the first one. right here. I think I'm just going to, since I already made this, I'm going to go ahead and copy it. So I'm going to duplicate. So we'll let that duplicate. And when it duplicates, it sends it to the bottom. So I'm going to click it and then click that up arrow to start moving it up some. So we'll click it up. And then we'll click it up. And now it's under this one. And really, it looks like all we need to do is change the image in the background. So let's do that. So I'm going to click the panel. And then I'm going to go to background and change image. And we'll find the picture that we need and click save. And now we've got the same exact picture. I'm going to resize it to give us a little bit more of that beautiful picture. And now that's actually maybe a little bit too big. So I'll shrink it up a little bit. That looks good. And it's really close to what we have there. So I'm going to click on this one and click delete. And that's fine. So now we have that panel done. And now we can actually do a delete of this blank panel because we didn't need it. So there we go. And all we have left is the footer. So let's go ahead and add the footer. So we've got some text there with the box, text there with the box, and then a newsletter subscription. So let's first of all change the color. So we'll right click it and we'll go to background. And I'm going to make it that solid black so it matches the top. So I'm going to click and drag, and there's that solid black. And that will match that solid black that we have at the very top. And now I'm going to go ahead and add a couple boxes. So I'm going to go add elements and box, and we'll click that trusty old box that we've been using. And we'll call this the Shelly box, since that's the one we use quite a bit. And I'm going to click and drag it over here and make it a little bit bigger like this. And it looks like we've got some pretty small text there. So I'm going to go to the text elements. We'll take a look at what we need. It looks like we have an H6 and a paragraph. So I'm going to drag an H6 over, and I'm going to drag a paragraph over. We can't see them very well. So probably the first thing we need to do is change that text to white so we can see it really well. So I'm going to click the down arrow and grab white. And then for this one, I'm going to do the same thing. Down arrow and choose white. Now I can see my stuff a little bit better. And now I can actually copy this text, and I'm going to paste it over here. There we go. And then I'm going to put it in this top corner, just like that. And then we'll shrink this a little bit because it doesn't need to be that wide. And then I'm going to just copy the same thing, this text here, and then drop it down here. Just like that. And then we'll drop it right underneath here, and then we'll actually shrink it a little bit to make it a little bit smaller. And we can see that it's taken up a little bit more space, but I'm okay with that because this is really small. This one's not quite as small, and I probably have some important things I need to say here. So I'm going to leave it big, and I'm going to leave it left justified, which is great. So now that I've got the box the way I want it, I'm going to click on the box, and I'm going to delete that trusty little outline because we don't want the border. So let me move something out of the way so I can make sure I got the box. And we're going to set it 0 and none. And then I'll move this word politics back in there. And now we're actually able to take it and copy that box if we want to. So I'm going to duplicate the box. And it didn't pull anything with it, and that's because I didn't save it. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the empty one. And from there, we'll actually click Save. And that's fine to publish. And then I'm going to click my box again, and we're going to make it just a little bit bigger so we can get that box real good. And then I'm going to click Duplicate. Fabulous. Now I'm going to move this over, and we're just going to copy the contents right here. So right here it says Contact Us. So we're going to copy, and then right here we're going to paste. Perfect. And then here we've got the address. So I'm going to copy, and then right here I'm going to paste, which is perfect. I need to widen it just a little bit. So let me widen the box first, and then we'll widen the text area. And then we're good to go. So we've got that set up. And we can move that over just a tad and then line it up to make sure it's all lined up nice and neat. And now the next one is the newsletter subscription. So this is going to be part of an email marketing that we want to connect to our mailing boss. So I'm going to go ahead and add an element, and this one's going to be the email marketing form. So I'm going to click here for email marketing form, and this has to be set up ahead of time where you have to get your list and set it up, or you can set it up on the fly. So I'm going to see if I can find one that looks pretty close. So this one right here looks pretty close. I'm going to click and drag it over, and when I drag it over, it says, do you want to connect it to a list or create a new list? Well, this is a new account. It doesn't have any email list yet, so I need to create a new list. Now, if you're on the free plan, you won't have email marketing and mailing boss available to you. So you can do it a different route. Instead of setting up a subscriber list and an email sequence, you can use a contact form, and that contact form will allow you to collect their information, and it will email you directly the results. So let's take a look at a contact form and setting that up as well on the website. So now let's add the contact form. So I'm going to click add, and I'm going to go to elements, and because I don't have an email list yet, I'm just going to add a simple contact form. And these are super easy to set up, so I'm just going to click here and drag it in. And you can see that it has a lot more fields than what we need. So I'm going to just change the size a little bit, and all we need is first name and email. So I'm going to click right here where it says configure fields, and there's my first name field, so I can take out my last name, so I'm going to delete that. And then phone number I don't need, so I'm going to delete that, and then I'm going to click save. So now I've got the fields that I need, so I'm going to click and drag that down a little bit. And then I need the newsletter subscription text, and I also need a box for all of that to go in. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of move this out of the way a minute, and I'm going to click add and elements and box, and click and drag my Shelly box here, and we will make it so that it takes up a little bit more room, just like that. And then I'm going to click just this element, the text element, and copy it, and then move that element over here. And then I'm just going to put that same title there. So newsletter subscription. Perfect. And then I'm going to click it and make it a little bit bigger so it's on one line, but I do want it left justified, just like that. And I'm going to take the form and put it underneath it, just like this. And I'm going to shrink it just a little bit so it's inside that box. And then I'm going to shrink the box so it doesn't take up so much space. There we go. Perfect. And now I need to change that button to yellow. So I'm going to right click that form and get to the settings over here. And for the field style, everything looks great. So then the background looks great. The border looks great. Rounded borders are fine. So headline on this button, I need to say register now. So I'm going to just type in register now. Perfect. And the size looks really good. I'm happy with that. So now let's talk about changing the color of the button. So I'm going to go to background. You can see the background has gray, and it needs to be that yellow color. So I'm going to click in the yellow area and kind of slide it to the yellow that I want, and then drag it over, and that looks like a pretty good yellow. And then the hover, I'm going to click that, and I'm just going to have a hover of yellow as well. Maybe just a little bit different, darker yellow so we can see it. And that looks pretty good. So I'm going to save that. And then that's fine. And now we'll take a look and see if it has pretty much everything from up here. And it looks pretty similar. I got to line some things up a little bit. So let me click and drag to line it up. Perfect. And then I'm going to go ahead and change the politics to bold and the contact us to bold and newsletter subscription to bold so that it kind of stands out a little bit. And then I'm going to line up that newsletter subscription to line up with all of these right here. And then once I do that, I can actually click and change the size of the panel because I've got some extra space at the bottom. And then I've got an actually better looking panel, I think, than this one up here. So now I'm going to go ahead and click this panel and delete it. And click that's fine. And now I've actually rebuilt every single panel that we originally pulled in from the pre-made panels. So now that I'm done, I'm going to click save and then save again, or that's fine. And now all you'll need to do is go in and do a little bit of editing to edit the content, connect some buttons, and then you're finished. So this is actually building the entire thing from scratch, not using the templates, not using the pre-made panels. We actually did it completely from scratch. So you can see that it's not that hard to do. It's very easy once you start playing in Cheetah. So we still got a little bit to do, and that is to do some website settings, to configure the mobile, and then to just double check everything to make sure it's ready to go live. So I'll see you in the next video.